Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are watching this from. Welcome to my YouTube channel, and I am Caitlin, and I am a love and dating coach who works with people to fall in love with themselves and then hopefully others. But guys, we're only meeting great people, okay? That is the point of this. So today I am talking to you about reasons you are single that actually have nothing to do with you. So I love this subject because and I don't know about you, but asking the question, why am I still single, can feel like a little bit of a knife in the heart, right? I was constantly saying, why am I still single? Why hasn't this happened for me? What's wrong with me? You know, all those kind of questions would be lumped together and they would feel really quite crap. But it is a question people do ask, especially if you're like some of my clients and they've been dating for years. Or they maybe never had a relationship. And I didn't. My first boyfriend ended up being my husband, who I met in my late 20s. So I had years and years and years feeling like the weird single one that it was never going to happen for. So this is why I love doing this work. Anyway, slightly off topic, but the question, why am I single, can be sometimes a really constructive one to ask, or one I prefer is, what is going on in my life that is not helping me reach my goal of a relationship? Rather than, why are you single? Because it puts it all on you. And when I start working with somebody, we do have to do a little bit of an inventory of your past relationships, how you feel about men, women, dating, love, marriage, all those kind of questions. We then need to look at your situation, what's happening there, and we need to kind of look at your behaviours, because we all have blind spots. We all have things that are holding us back, which can be really difficult to see when it's just you on your own. And there was a really interesting example of this with a client recently who, on the surface kind of has everything super successful, beautiful, lots of friends, runs her own business, so much going for her, but feels like she's constantly single. And it wasn't about trying to get her a relationship, it was actually about trying to open up a little bit more connection in her life generally. And we just got her to, we came up with it together, but we're slowing down, looking around, making eye contact with more people. And as her kind of body slowed down, she started finding joy a little bit more in everyday moments. That's when the energy kind of became a bit more reciprocated. Men started holding doors for her, smiling at her, saying hello, all that sort of good stuff. So there can be really tiny little things that act as a blind spot. Slightly off topic, I don't know why I thought about that one, but we have to get to the bottom of what's going on. And as a coach, one thing I see constantly is people will try and put our relationship struggles always down to things like self-esteem, unconscious patterning, and of course these can be factors. Sometimes, it might be around attachment styles, it might be around vulnerability, it might be around that energy. But actually, a lot of the time we ignore the really practical and the situational factors that mean we are single, and actually they have nothing to do with us. And it can't always be about childhood and healing and trying to fix something that you feel is internally wrong, if actually it's your environment that isn't helping. So sometimes it is just about life, and we actually need to get really clear on this. So I've come up with kind of 6 factors. This is going to be limitless, and I want you to write in the comments about what could be influencing your success in meeting somebody. Number 1, the economy. We can't ignore it. People have less money, okay? There's a cost of living crisis, and people have less money to go out, less money to spend on themselves, less money to spend on dating, less money to travel, less money to create new opportunities to meet people. It does have a knock-on effect. And if you're worrying about money all the time, if you're trying to make ends meet, if you are, especially if you are single, life is more expensive. Let's be honest. The world is set up for people in couples financially. I don't agree with it and I think it's bullshit, but it's a factor again that I'm not going to ignore. Then money can play a part in this. The second point that's been massive since COVID is we're working from home a lot more. So we're naturally out and about less, which means there are less opportunities to meet people. If you are in your house or you've perhaps moved to the countryside or something like that, then just think about the amount of less people you pass on a daily basis, the coffee shops you don't go to, who you don't meet at work, the kind of human interaction that you're used to having, we don't have anymore. Third one, we live in the middle of nowhere, so the pool is smaller. Again, can't get away from it. Dating in London is going to be very different to dating in rural Scotland. Just is. So you might have to travel to date, or you might have to have a much kind of wider net, which means dates can be less convenient. You might have to have more time, more energy for them. Again, traveling costs, things like that. I can't remember what number this is for. You're a parent, whether that's dog or child. You have something in your life that depends on you and that takes up a lot more energy. And no, dating isn't going to be your first priority. It might be your 5th priority, okay? Another factor that has a huge impact with my clients, as you do get older, your friendship groups can get smaller. So this again, when you think about you're kind of in your early 20s, whatever, you are out all the time, you might have way more friends, you've got way more opportunity of kind of meeting different people. But as we do get older, our worlds do tend to get a little bit smaller, which can be why it actually can be really important to make sure we're constantly expanding this and working on it. So that. And then the last one I'd say is, we don't have, all this kind of accumulates in perhaps us not having the time and the energy that we need to put into dating in order to meet somebody. And not always, okay? I'm such a firm believer in a little bit of magic along the way, that you can step out your house and it happens. Like, I know people who've met in a taxi queue, in weird and wonderful places. But if you don't have any kind of desire or openness to meet somebody, then that can have a huge impact as well. So the reason I'm telling you these is not so you can say, right, it's never going to happen. Yep, actually, I do live in the middle of nowhere, so I don't know. Do you know what? I'm not going to meet somebody, so I'm not going to date. It's not an excuse to never date again. But I want us to get quite practical on, if any of these points have resonated with you, please do write down a few action points and how you can actually change that circumstance over the next 2 to 3 months. So 2 to 3 practical solutions that you can use to tweak your own circumstance. Might not change it completely, but let's say if the middle of nowhere one is one of the situational factors, then could you commit to a date every 2 weeks? Cast your net wider and make it a priority to yourself that actually you have marked the kind of places you're willing to travel to. You've popped your net a little bit wider if you're on the apps, or if you want to meet people in person, you've joined clubs or groups or whatever. You found events in those locations themselves. So there's always so many things we can do to tweak our circumstances, and part of the growth of becoming the person who can hold the space for the relationship you want is looking at this sort of stuff. It is looking at how you can impact and take responsibility for the situation and for the circumstances that's going on. So yeah, that's it for me. That's all I wanted to say. Let me know how you get on, and please write any situational factors that you feel play a part in your situation in the comments below, because I'm sure so many people will resonate with this, and it's a topic that I don't actually think is discussed enough. So please do follow me on this channel. As I said, I'm going to try and make this a more regular thing. I know I dip in and out just because life gets in the way, but I do love reading your comments and I love it when people get in touch. So my website is www.thecompatibilitycoach.uk. My email is caitlin@thecompatibilitycoach.co.uk. I'll pop it on. And my doors are always open for a chat.